All right, so let's now get a response from the City of Johannesburg, and I'm joined by Nthatisi Modingoane, who's Deputy Director of Communications. Mr. Modingoane, thank you so much for coming through to us. You may have heard that our reporter battled to get a comment from the City of Johannesburg. Talk to me about what is happening, because we have just listened to a very disturbing report that suggests that these people are pretty much on their own now.
Okay. So let's just take it back a little bit in terms of what has transpired following the fire at 18 Marshall. What has happened is that there were families, around 178 families that had registered and requested that they be provided with emergency accommodation. And as part of the process, in terms of the Disaster Management Act, the emergency shelter is operational for 72 hours. So what has transpired then is that because of the need and the need of the people, we had to play it by ear and not stick to the 72 hours, but work on an extension week by week. So what has happened is that on Friday last week, we had a meeting with the residents of that place, because one of the interventions that has to happen is to reintegrate the victims into various communities. And we were working with Red Cross South Africa, where they secured funding to assist the people that were going to be evacuated from the emergency shelter into being reintegrated into various communities. And they did a desktop analysis in terms of the cost that they would incur if they had to go and find rental accommodation. Based on the information that we received, where they indicated that at 80 Marshall Street, they used to pay between 600 and 1,200. Red Cross came up with an average per family to say, for them to be able to get a kickstart, every family member will be given a 4,000 stipend, which will be spent through cash spend to make sure.
Sorry to jump in, because I just want to make sure. You're talking about what they would normally have paid for rent, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And so my understanding is that the obligation now is that the city has to look after them until they're back on their feet. What we heard from this report is really worrying. They said that there's no provision of any services being provided. Yesterday, disaster management came through donations that have been received for the victims on the ground, saying, take your stuff and go. And this is from a social worker. What is actually happening? Because it sounds to me like you're trying to make a plan with the Red Cross, but the people on the ground, and we've seen as well, they're not living in ideal conditions at all. And they say that they're being chased out. Are they being chased out, or aren't they?
No, what is happening is that emergency shelter has to be taken back to community development to be used as a...
So the shelter has to be taken back. Can I ask, where are they going to go, and when do they have to leave the shelter by?
Let me explain what is happening.
Can I ask you to be brief, because we've not got a great line on the telephone. So if you can, it should be simple just to say, when are they meant to go? When is the shelter not available from?
This shelter was supposed to have been vacated by the past weekend.
Okay.
But because we're having challenges with some, especially the undocumented foreigners. Most of the South Africans have been moved. We moved them to, some of them have moved to Soweto, some of them have moved to some parts of Ekurhuleni, some of them have moved to Nthatisi.
Yeah, bottom line is it's still your obligation, as far as the law is concerned, is my understanding. When are they going to be moved? Can you confirm they're still getting food where they are currently at the Hoffland shelter?
At the moment, yes, they are still being assisted through the NGOs that we are partnering with. But however, we're having certain challenges with certain individuals that are inciting these, especially undocumented foreigners, not to move or to vacate the place. So we are still engaged in those discussions to say...
But I mean, okay, so you're saying some people are inciting them not to move, but you're saying, you also sort of indicated to me that you're battling to find new accommodation for them. Have you actually got a new place for them?
No, what is happening is that everybody that is there, that is supposed to move, has got an allocation to be able to find an alternative accommodation.
So you're giving them money, is that right?
Giving them money to be able to do that. So what disappointed us on Friday, some of them were taking that money and using it for social enjoyment instead of taking that money and looking for
so that is, just to be clear, that's an allocation allowance. Is that a one-off, or does that continue, that 2,000 rand, for a while?
It's a one-off that has to look after them for the next 3 months while they find their footing, because most of them are working, and they had indicated that they were paying those amounts at the 80 Marshall. So we are giving them a kickstart so that they can be able to spend on their own.
But, okay, so let me try and understand, is what you're saying is they were paying between 600 and 1,200 Rand a month at their previous accommodation. You're giving them 2,000 Rand, which you hope will last them 3 months as an allowance. 4,000.
Yes.
And that should give them, hopefully give them accommodation for 3 months.
Yes.
And at that point, they're on their own. So is that completely legal, what you've done?
No, what has been done is done in terms of the Disaster Management Act. There's nothing untoward, there's nothing illegal, there's nothing incorrect. What we're doing is that the Emergency Management Act stipulates that an emergency shelter is set up for about 72 hours, following which people are assisted through various interventions so that they can be able to be released from that space, because they get confined and they can't be able to be integrated into communities.
So what's your plan if some people are refusing to move?
What will happen is that the problem is that when people refuse to move, they will end up being displaced because the facility has to be used for other issues. What is happening is that for South Africans, for example, we have what we call a transitional accommodation arrangement, which we have arranged at the Denver site, where the city border site, which was supposed to be used as the MPD pound. What is happening there is that we are erecting structures, which will be transitional structures for some of the people that are coming from 80 Marshall. And not only those, because one of the challenges with these hijacked buildings is that there is another building that we have identified, which is a ticking time bomb. And we have applied through the court to say we want that building to be declared uninhabitable, so that we can move those people as well to Denver, so that they can live in those transitional houses that we are erecting.
All right. Well, thank you so much for giving us an update. That was Nthatisi Modingoane, Deputy Director of Communications for the City of Johannesburg, telling us that 4,000 Rand has been given to those people who've not yet made a plan to find accommodation. And that money must tide them over in terms of an allowance for accommodation for the next 3 months. But he says some people are refusing to leave. And unfortunately, the facility where they've been staying in Hoffland is no longer actually open to them, no longer available. I suspect there's more to come on the story. We'll keep an eye on it.